The grand Thornhill ballroom gleamed like a cathedral of wealth. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across marble floors. 1,000 guests in tailored suits and silk gowns raised champagne flutes toward the stage. Marcus Thornhill stood at the podium, his royal blue tie perfectly knotted. His smile was rehearsed, camera ready. Tonight we celebrate not just profit but people, the heartbeat of Thornhill Industries, our family. Applause thundered through the room. Imani Cross moved between the tables, her emerald green uniform crisp against her dark skin. She balanced a tray of champagne glasses with practiced precision. Around her, other staff members glided through the crowd, invisible, efficient, forgotten. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Once, twice, 3 times. She ignored it. The guests didn't notice servers with phones. They didn't notice servers at all. Marcus continued his speech. We've exceeded projections by 40%. Record bonuses for our executives. Record growth for our shareholders. Imani's co-worker Jasmine brushed past her, whispering without breaking stride. Check your bank account. Imani's pulse quickened. The holiday bonus. 6 months of promises. Signed contracts distributed in September. She slipped into the service corridor. The noise of the gala faded behind steel doors. She pulled out her phone with shaking fingers. Banking app, checking account. Balance $873, no deposit, no bonus, nothing. She opened the staff group chat. Messages flooded the screen. Nothing came through. Mine's empty too. Did anyone get paid? 23 staff members. 23 empty accounts. Imani leaned against the cold wall. Through the door, Marcus Thornhill's voice echoed. At Thornhill Industries, we believe in integrity, in keeping our promises, in family values that transcend profit. Her grandmother's voice whispered in her memory. They'll smile while they rob you blind. Imani straightened her uniform, smoothed her name tag, returned to the ballroom with her tray of champagne and her fury locked behind a professional smile. The celebration continued. Nobody noticed the waitress, whose hands had stopped shaking and started planning. Imani Cross was 29 years old and carried the weight of 2 lives on her shoulders. 6 years at the Thornhill Grand Hotel, Employee of the Month 4 times, perfect attendance record, recommendations from 3 managers. She'd started as a seasonal temp and built herself into indispensable. The apartment she shared with her daughter Zara was small but fiercely maintained. Walls painted cream by her own hands, photographs of her grandmother in simple black frames. Zara's honor roll certificates taped to the refrigerator beside a grocery list and a budget spreadsheet. Every morning before dawn, Imani braided Zara's hair while quiz questions echoed through the kitchen. Every night after closing shifts, she checked homework and meal-prepped lunches for the week. The rhythm of survival, precise, unrelenting, necessary. She'd arrived in this city 7 years ago with $70 and a 3-year-old daughter. No family, no connections, no safety net. Just a bus ticket and her grandmother's dying words still ringing in her ears. The hotel job was supposed to be temporary. It became a lifeline. Health insurance for Zara, steady paychecks, opportunities for overtime during wedding season and corporate events. Imani learned the unspoken rules quickly. Stay invisible. Anticipate needs before they're spoken. Smile through insults. Never challenge guests no matter how they treat you. But she also learned her grandmother's rules. Document everything. Trust nothing. Keep records. A binder lived in her bedroom closet, 3 inches thick, organized by date, copies of every pay stub, screenshots of schedule changes, printed emails, text message logs, witness statements from co-workers who'd seen managers alter time cards or pocket tips meant for staff. Her co-workers called her paranoid. Imani called it prepared. She'd watched. Too many people lose everything. because they couldn't prove what was promised. She'd held her grandmother's hand while debt collectors called about pension funds that had vanished into corporate restructuring. Powerful people count on the powerless to forget, to lose paperwork, to be too tired or too scared to fight. Imani never forgot. And she was done being scared. The morning after the gala, she pulled the binder from her closet, flipped to September 15th, 23 bonus contracts, photocopied front and back. Marcus Thornhill's signature on every page. HR Director Patricia Chen's witness signature beside his. She photographed each page with her phone, uploaded them to 3 separate cloud accounts, emailed copies to her personal address. Then she got dressed for work, braided Zara's hair, kissed her daughter goodbye at the school bus stop. When she walked into the Thornhill Grand Hotel that morning, she was ready for war. The staff meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the basement break room. 23 employees crowded into folding chairs. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The room smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaning solution. Marcus Thornhill entered at 2:15 with his legal team, 3 people in charcoal suits carrying leather portfolios. His smile was warm, apologetic, practiced. "Thank you all for your patience." He leaned against the table, projecting casual authority. "I wanted to address the bonus situation personally." Silence. 23 faces watched him. "Unfortunately, due to unforeseen market adjustments and restructuring costs, we're modifying the holiday bonus program. We'll be implementing a tiered merit system for next quarter instead." Jasmine's hand shot up. "We were promised bonuses. You told us—" "I understand there may have been miscommunication." Marcus's voice stayed gentle. "But company policy is clear. Bonuses are discretionary, not guaranteed. We have contracts." Imani's voice cut through the room. Every head turned toward her. Marcus's smile didn't waver. "Contracts?" He glanced at his legal team with theatrical confusion. "I'm not aware of any bonus contracts." "Are you?" The lawyers shook their heads. One opened his portfolio, scanning documents. "Our records show no such agreements, Mr. Thornhill." "There must be some misunderstanding." Marcus directed his attention to Imani. "Miss Cross, is it? What exactly are you referring to?" Imani stood. Her hands were steady. "September 15th. You distributed and signed 23 contracts guaranteeing holiday bonuses based on performance metrics. Patricia Chen from HR witnessed every signature." "That's a very specific claim." Marcus's tone shifted, still polite, newly edged with warning. "I'd certainly love to see these alleged contracts. I have copies, all 23, signed by you, witnessed by Patricia Chen. I can produce them right now." The lawyers exchanged glances. Marcus straightened, his smile finally fading. "Miss Cross, I need to be very clear with you. Making false accusations against company leadership is grounds for immediate termination. Attempting to fabricate documents is potentially criminal." "I'm not fabricating anything." "Then where are these supposed contracts?" One of the lawyers stepped forward. "Because our legal department has no record of any such agreements. If you're claiming otherwise, you need to provide proof immediately or retract your statement." Imani met Marcus's eyes. She saw the calculation there, the certainty that she was bluffing, that she'd back down, that she was just another powerless employee who could be intimidated into silence. "I'll provide every document, along with witness testimony, email records, the approval chain." Marcus leaned closer. His voice dropped to a whisper that carried through the silent room. "Think very carefully about your next move, Miss Cross. Legal battles are expensive. Reputations are fragile. You have a daughter, don't you? Think about what's best for her future." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Imani didn't blink. "I am thinking about her future. I'm teaching her that some fights are worth having." She walked out of the break room. Behind her, 23 employees sat in stunned silence. Marcus Thornhill watched her go, his expression unreadable. The war had begun. Imani sat in her car for 27 minutes. Her hands gripped the steering wheel. The parking garage was dim and concrete cold. Through the window, she could see the hotel's upper floors, glass and steel reaching toward the sky like a monument to wealth. Her phone lit up with messages from co-workers. "Are you okay?" That was insane. "Be careful." She didn't respond. Her mind replayed Marcus Thornhill's words. "You have a daughter, don't you?" A threat disguised as concern. A reminder of what she had to lose. Imani closed her eyes, saw Zara's face, heard her daughter's voice asking why they couldn't afford the school field trip last month, felt the weight of every bill, every budget spreadsheet. Every night she'd stayed up calculating which expenses could wait another week. She thought about her grandmother, the hospital room 7 years ago, the monitors beeping, the lawyers who'd come with papers to sign, pension dissolution, medical debt agreements, forced arbitration clauses. Her grandmother had gripped her hand with dying strength. "They erased 30 years of my life, baby. Told me I never worked there. Told me the pension never existed. I had no proof. Nothing but memory." Her grandmother's voice had cracked. "Don't let them make you invisible. Don't let them steal what you've earned." Imani opened her eyes, started the car. She drove to her apartment. Zara wouldn't be home for another 3 hours. The silence felt heavy. She made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, opened her phone. The photos were still there. 23 contracts. Every signature clear. Every date documented. Patricia Chen's witness signature beside Marcus Thornhill's on each page. She scrolled through her email archives, found the September 14th message from HR. "Attached are the bonus agreements for your review. Please sign and return by end of week." She found the group text from Marcus himself. "Proud to reward our hardest workers. You make Thornhill Grand what it is. Evidence, documentation, proof." But Marcus Thornhill had lawyers, money, power, the ability to make problems disappear. Imani thought about backing down, taking the loss, protecting her job and her daughter's stability. Then she thought about 23 families, about Patricia Chen who'd witnessed those signatures, about every worker who'd been cheated and stayed silent because the system was designed to crush anyone who spoke up. She pulled the binder from her closet, set it on the table beside her coffee. Her grandmother had died invisible, erased by corporate lawyers and missing paperwork. Imani Cross would not 7 years earlier. City Hospital, room 412. Imani had held her grandmother's hand, while machines beeped and IV lines snaked across papery skin. 3-year-old Zara slept in a chair, exhausted from hours in the waiting room. "They're saying the pension never existed." Her grandmother's voice was thin as tissue. 30 years at Grandview Textiles. 30 years of contributions. They restructured. New ownership. "All the records gone? We'll fight it, Grandma. There has to be—" "No proof, baby." Her grandmother's eyes were clear despite the pain medication. "That's what they count on. Workers like us don't keep records we trust." We believe the lawyers had come the next day. Grandview Textiles had filed for bankruptcy. Pension obligations dissolved. Medical debt transferred to next of kin. Imani had been 22, single mother, no college degree. $70,000 in inherited debt. Her grandmother died 3 days later. At the funeral, her grandmother's co-worker, Miss Beatrice, had pulled Imani aside. "Your grandma wasn't the only one. 43 of us lost our pensions. They knew we wouldn't fight. Too old, too tired, too poor for lawyers. Why didn't anyone speak up?" Miss Beatrice's laugh was bitter. "Who listens to old black women with no paperwork?" The lesson sank into Imani's bones. She'd started documenting everything that day. Every job application, every interview, every promise made by employers. When the Thornhill Grand Hotel hired her, she kept copies of the offer letter, the employee handbook, every schedule change, every verbal agreement. Her co-workers thought she was excessive, paranoid, but Imani had learned what silence cost. What trust without verification destroyed? When Marcus Thornhill announced the bonus program 6 months ago, Imani had been the first to request written contracts. Other staff followed her lead. Patricia Chen had seemed uncomfortable but compliant, printing and witnessing each agreement. Imani had made copies immediately, photographed every page, stored them in 3 locations, because she knew men like Marcus Thornhill. She'd watched them smile at her grandmother's funeral while their lawyers dismantled her life's work. She wouldn't let it happen again. The stakes weren't just money. They were dignity, justice, the message that workers could fight back and win. Her grandmother had taught her to document. Now Imani would teach powerful people that documentation had consequences. She pulled out her phone, dialed Patricia Chen's number. The HR director needed to know the fight was coming, and whose side she'd be on when it arrived. Patricia Chen didn't answer the first call, or the second, or the third. Imani tried for 2 days. Each call went to voicemail. Each text message went unanswered. On the 3rd day, Patricia finally responded, "I can't help you. I'm sorry. Please don't contact me again." Imani stared at the message. Her stomach dropped. She drove to Patricia's address, pulled from the employee directory she'd photographed months ago. The neighborhood was quiet, tree-lined, middle-class comfortable. Patricia answered the door with swollen eyes and trembling hands. "You shouldn't be here." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I need those contracts, Patricia. You witnessed them. You know they're real." "I know." Patricia glanced over her shoulder into her empty house. "I also know what Marcus Thornhill does to people who cross him. He's stealing from 23 families. He's done worse." Patricia's composure cracked. 3 years ago, a sous chef tried to report safety violations. Marcus buried him, blacklisted him from every hotel chain in the region. The man lost his house, his marriage, everything. Imani's hands clenched. "So we do nothing. We survive." Patricia started to close the door. Imani caught it. "My grandmother spent 30 years building a pension. When she got sick, the company erased it, told her it never existed. She died in debt because she trusted people like Marcus Thornhill." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "I can't lose my job. I have a mortgage. Medical bills for my mother. I'm 53 years old. Who's going to hire me if Marcus destroys my reputation? He's going to destroy it anyway." Imani kept her voice gentle. "The moment you become inconvenient, you're gone. You know that." Patricia stood frozen in her doorway. Seconds stretched into a minute. Then she turned, walked into her house, returned with a manila folder. "I made copies." Her hands shook as she passed it to Imani. "Before he told me to delete everything, the original contracts, the email chain where he approved the bonuses, the memo where he ordered me to bury it all after the market dip in October." Imani opened the folder. Her breath caught. 23 contracts, originals, not copies. Marcus Thornhill's signature. Patricia Chen's witness signature. Dates, details, everything. And beneath them, printed emails. Marcus to Patricia. Distribute and execute bonus agreements per attached template. Date, September 12th, and another. Marcus to Patricia. Market conditions require adjustment. Remove all bonus documentation from HR files. Shred physical copies. Delete digital records. Effective immediately. Date, October 18th. "Why are you giving me this?" Imani whispered. Patricia wiped her eyes. 30 years ago, my mother worked for a company that did this to her. Promised profit sharing, then restructured and erased everything. No one stood up for her. She was too scared to fight alone. Her voice strengthened. "I've been too scared my whole career, watching powerful men lie and cheat and destroy people, telling myself I needed to protect my job, my security, my future." She met Imani's eyes. "But what future is worth living if I can't look at myself in the mirror?" Imani held the folder like it was made of light. "He'll come after you." "I know." Patricia smiled, sad, resigned, strangely peaceful. but for once in my life I'll be on the right side. Imani walked back to her car. The folder sat on the passenger seat. She had everything. The proof, the smoking gun, the documentation that would expose Marcus Thornhill's fraud. Now she just had to figure out what to do with it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine. Emergency staff meeting tomorrow. Marcus is announcing policy clarifications. This doesn't feel good. Imani looked at the folder. At the evidence of systematic theft. Tomorrow, Marcus Thornhill would try to rewrite reality, to make the contracts disappear through intimidation and legal maneuvering. But Imani Cross had learned from her grandmother's mistakes. This time, the powerful wouldn't win by erasing the truth. This time, the truth had receipts. Imani scheduled a meeting with Marcus Thornhill's executive assistant before the staff announcement. She arrived at the executive suite at 8 a.m. The office was glass and chrome, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The assistant, a woman named Diane in a dusty rose blouse, greeted her with professional coldness. "You have 10 minutes." Imani set the folder on the polished desk. "I'd like to resolve this without escalation. These are the original contracts, signed by Mr. Thornhill, witnessed by Patricia Chen, along with email documentation showing he ordered their destruction." Diane didn't open the folder. She barely glanced at it. "Miss Cross, Mr. Thornhill's position is clear. No binding bonus agreements exist. Your continued allegations constitute harassment and potential defamation. These documents are authentic, dated, witnessed. I have 3 additional witnesses willing to testify about the distribution and signing process." Diane's smile was ice. "Do you understand what you're up against? Mr. Thornhill has retained Blackstone and Associates, the most expensive legal team in the state. They've never lost an employment dispute." She leaned forward. "You're a waitress. You make, what, $32,000 a year? Legal fees alone would bankrupt you before we even reach discovery." Imani kept her voice steady. "I'm not interested in legal battles. I'm interested in 23 people getting what they were promised. And I'm interested in protecting this company from frivolous claims." Diane slid the folder back across the desk. "Here's what's going to happen. You'll drop this immediately. You'll sign a non-disclosure agreement. In exchange, we'll provide a severance package, let's say $5,000, and a neutral employment reference. That's not what we're owed. It's more than you'll get in court." Diane's expression hardened. "Take the deal, Miss Cross. Walk away while you still can. Because if you push this, Mr. Thornhill will destroy you. Your reputation, your career, your custody of your daughter." The room went cold. "Are you threatening my child?" "I'm explaining reality." Diane stood. "You have 24 hours to accept the settlement. After that, our lawyers will pursue every available remedy, including criminal charges for attempted fraud and extortion." Imani gathered the folder. Her hands didn't shake. "Tell Mr. Thornhill I'll see him at the staff meeting." She walked out of the executive suite. The elevator doors closed on Diane's furious expression. Imani pressed the button for the lobby. Her reflection stared back from the polished steel. A black woman in an emerald green uniform, holding a folder that could topple an empire. She thought about her daughter, about the threats, about how easy it would be to take $5,000 and disappear. Then she thought about her grandmother, about Patricia Chen, about 23 families who trusted her to fight. The elevator reached the lobby. Imani stepped out into the morning light. She wasn't taking the deal. The next morning, Imani's locker was cleaned out. She arrived for her shift at 6 a.m. The service corridor was empty. Her locker door hung open, uniform gone, personal items removed, lock cut. Security appeared behind her. 2 men in black suits. "Miss Cross, you're terminated effective immediately. Violation of company policy regarding harassment of executive staff." "What policy?" "You'll receive documentation by email. Please surrender your employee badge and exit the premises. No severance, no explanation, no chance to defend herself. Her co-workers watched from doorways, silent, terrified, calculating their own survival. Marcus Thornhill appeared at the end of the corridor. His royal blue tie was perfect. His smile was victory. "I warned you, Miss Cross." His voice carried down the hallway. "Some fights aren't worth having." The security guards escorted her through the service exit. The heavy door closed behind her with a final metallic clang. Imani stood in the alley behind the Thornhill Grand Hotel. Morning sun slanted between buildings. The folder of evidence was still in her bag. Her phone buzzed. Text from Patricia Chen. "They came for me too. Fired this morning. HR saying I falsified records. He's erasing everyone who knows." Another buzz. "Jasmine, they're threatening to fire anyone who talks to you." "I'm sorry, I have kids." Imani leaned against the brick wall. 23 families, 2 witnesses fired, no jobs, no income, no way forward. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Miss Cross? This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We received an anonymous tip regarding labor violations at Thornhill Grand Hotel, specifically allegations of wage theft and document destruction." Imani's breath caught. "We understand you may have documentation. We'd like to hear your story. Are you willing to speak on record?" Through the alley, Imani could see the hotel's glass facade reflecting morning light. She thought about Marcus Thornhill in his executive suite, about Diane's threats, about her grandmother dying invisible and erased. She thought about Zara, about the lesson this moment would teach her daughter about power and justice and the cost of silence. "Yes," Imani said. "I'm willing to talk, and I have everything you need to see." Rebecca's voice sharpened with professional excitement. "Can you meet us this afternoon? We'll need to verify the documents, conduct interviews, build the story properly. I'll be there." Imani looked at the hotel one last time. "And I'm not the only one. There are 22 other people who deserve to be heard." She ended the call, stood in the alley with sunlight warming her face. Marcus Thornhill thought he'd won. He'd fired her, silenced the witnesses, erased the evidence from company systems, but he'd made one critical mistake. He'd forgotten that erasure only works in the dark. Imani pulled out her phone, started texting her co-workers, started building a network of voices that couldn't be silenced individually, but together could shake the foundations of everything Marcus Thornhill had built. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The apartment felt smaller that afternoon. Imani sat at her kitchen table with the folder open, documents spread across the surface like evidence at a crime scene. She'd been fired. Patricia had been fired. The witnesses were scattering. Her phone was silent. The co-workers who'd promised solidarity had gone quiet. Fear was contagious in ways courage never was. She checked her bank account. $873. Rent due in 12 days. Zara's school expenses. Groceries. The car insurance payment she'd been delaying. The math was brutal and simple. Without the bonus, without her job, she had maybe 6 weeks before everything collapsed. Her grandmother's photograph watched from the wall. Same expression. Same silence. Imani closed her eyes, felt the weight of the choice she'd made. She could have taken Diane's settlement, $5,000, a reference. Her daughter's stability protected. Instead, she'd chosen a fight she might not win. The afternoon light slanted through the window. Dust particles floated in the beam, visible. Only in certain conditions, invisible the rest of the time. Like justice, Imani thought, only visible when someone shines a light. Her phone buzzed. Text from Zara's school. Reminder, field trip payment due Friday. $45 she didn't have. Imani's hands trembled. She pressed them flat against the table. This was the moment where most people broke, where the cost became too high, where survival instincts screamed to back down, apologize, disappear. Her grandmother had broken here. Too old, too sick, too tired to keep fighting. Imani wasn't her grandmother. She picked up her phone, opened the voice recorder, started documenting everything, her firing, the threats, the timeline of events. Her voice was steady despite the fear. If she was going down, she was taking Marcus Thornhill with her. The folder on the table held the truth. The recording in her phone held her testimony, and somewhere in this city, Channel 7 News was preparing questions. Imani looked at her grandmother's photograph one more time. "I'm not staying invisible, Grandma. Not this time." The Channel 7 News office was downtown, glass and steel like everything else in this city that worshipped wealth. Rebecca Martinez met Imani in a small conference room. She was 35, sharp-eyed, with a recorder and a notepad already laid out on the table. "Thank you for coming." Rebecca's handshake was firm. "Before we begin, I need to verify your documentation." "We can't run a story without ironclad evidence." Imani opened the folder, spread the contracts across the table. Rebecca examined each page with methodical precision, checked signatures against publicly available samples of Marcus Thornhill's handwriting, cross-referenced dates with company announcements, photographed every document. "These are legitimate." Rebecca looked up. "You understand what happens when we air this? Marcus Thornhill will come after you with everything he has. He already fired me, already threatened my daughter. I have nothing left to lose." "That's not true." Rebecca's voice was gentle. "You have your reputation, your future employment prospects, your safety. These men don't fight fair." Imani met her eyes. "My grandmother lost 30 years of pension to men who don't fight fair. I watched her die in debt while they erased her from their records. If I back down now, I'm telling my daughter that power always wins." Rebecca nodded slowly. "Okay, then let's do this right. He'll need to interview Patricia Chen, and as many of the 23 staff members as possible. Corroboration is everything. Patricia's scared. She was fired too. I'll reach out carefully. What about the others?" Imani pulled out her phone. "I have a group chat. Most of them stopped responding after I was fired. But there are a few who might talk." She started typing. One by one, messages went out. "Channel 7 wants to interview us. This is our chance to be heard. Who's with me?" The responses trickled in slowly. "Jasmine." "I can't. I have kids." "I'm sorry, Marcus from kitchen staff. They'll destroy us. Elena from housekeeping, my immigration status." "I can't risk attention." Imani's heart sank with each refusal. Then a response from David, a server who'd been at Thornhill Grand for 9 years. "I'm in." "They owe me $4,000. I'm tired of being scared." Another from Lisa. "My mom worked her whole life and got nothing." "I'll talk." And Patricia Chen. "If you're doing this, I'm standing with you. Send me the details." 3 voices. Not 23. But 3 voices who refused to be silent. Rebecca smiled. 3 corroborating witnesses with documentation. That's enough. We can build a story that Marcus Thornhill can't deny or bury. She pulled out a calendar. "We'll need 2 days to prepare. Conduct interviews. Verify every detail. Contact Thornhill's legal team for comment. Then we air Friday evening, prime time slot. He'll try to stop you. He'll try." Rebecca's expression hardened. "But I've been a journalist for 12 years. I've taken on corporations, politicians, and billionaires. The truth is my job. And this story, this is truth." Imani felt something shift in her chest. Hope, fragile and dangerous, she wasn't alone anymore. She had witnesses. She had evidence. She had a platform. Marcus Thornhill had money and power and lawyers, but Imani Cross had the truth, and she was about to make it very, very loud on Friday evening. 6 p.m. Channel 7 News. Imani sat in her apartment with Zara beside her on the couch. The television glowed in the dim light. Her daughter's hand was small and warm in hers. "Is this about your job, Mama?" "Yes, baby. About doing what's right, even when it's hard." The news anchors appeared on screen. Professional smiles. Calm voices. Tonight, an exclusive investigation into Thornhill Industries. Allegations of systematic wage theft. Documents suggesting deliberate fraud. We spoke with former employees who say Billionaire CEO Marcus Thornhill promised bonuses, then ordered all evidence destroyed. The screen cut to Rebecca Martinez standing outside the Thornhill Grand Hotel. 23 employees, 23 signed contracts, promises made then erased. Tonight we reveal the documents that Marcus Thornhill tried to bury. Imani's face appeared on screen. The interview from 2 days ago. He told us we were family. Her recorded voice was steady. He promised holiday bonuses based on performance. We met every metric. We signed contracts. Then he claimed those contracts never existed. The camera showed the documents. Marcus's signature. Patricia Chen's witness signature. Dates, details, everything. Patricia appeared next. Marcus Thornhill personally ordered me to delete all records, to shred physical copies, to make the contracts disappear. When I hesitated, he threatened my career. David's interview played. $4,000 owed. I have kids. I needed that money for medical bills. He looked us in the eye and lied. Lisa's voice. My mother worked for 30 years and got cheated. I won't let it happen to me. Rebecca's face returned to screen. We contacted Thornhill Industries for comment. Their legal team sent this statement. The text appeared. These allegations are baseless. No binding bonus agreements exist. Former employees are engaging in coordinated defamation. But here's what their statement doesn't address. Rebecca held up the documents. These contracts bear Marcus Thornhill's signature. They're dated, witnessed, and authenticated by 3 independent handwriting experts. The screen split. Rebecca on one side, on the other, a legal analyst. These documents are legally binding, the analyst explained. If authenticated, and they appear to be, this constitutes wage theft, potentially criminal fraud, and the email ordering their destruction, that's evidence of deliberate criminal intent. Imani's phone exploded with notifications. Social media erupted, and Thornhill scandal trending. News outlets picking up the story. Thousands of comments flooding in. This is why workers need protection. Billionaires stealing from people making minimum wage. Disgusting. That waitress is a hero. Zara squeezed her mother's hand. Mama, everyone's talking about you. Imani's eyes filled with tears. She watched the story spread across the city like wildfire. Unstoppable, undeniable. True. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Miss Cross? This is Attorney James Chen from Workers' Rights Coalition. We'd like to represent you and the 23 employees. Pro bono. We're filing a lawsuit Monday morning. Another call. Labor Board investigator. We're opening a formal investigation into Thornhill Industries. Your testimony and documentation will be critical. Another call. Former Thornhill employees from years past. He did this to us too. We never had proof. Can we join the case? The story grew, expanded, became bigger than Imani, bigger than 23 staff members, bigger than one hotel. It became about every worker who'd been cheated and stayed silent. Every promise broken by powerful people who counted on powerlessness to protect them. And Marcus Thornhill, billionaire, philanthropist CEO, watched his empire crack open on live television. His lawyers released statement after statement. His PR team worked overtime. His money bought full-page ads claiming innocence, but the documents didn't lie. The signatures were real. The truth was louder than any PR campaign. By midnight, 3 major hotel chains had suspended business relationships with Thornhill Industries, pending investigation. By morning, the state attorney general announced a criminal probe. By Monday, Marcus Thornhill's stock portfolio had lost $40 million in value. And Imani Cross, fired waitress, single mother, a keeper of receipts, had brought a billionaire to his knees with nothing but the truth. 3 months later. The settlement came through on a Tuesday. 23 employees, full bonuses paid, back wages compensated, punitive damages added, attorney fees covered. Imani's check arrived by courier, $42,000, more money than she'd ever seen in one place. She sat at her kitchen table, the same table where she'd spread those documents and made the choice to fight, and cried. Patricia Chen called that afternoon. "Did you get yours?" "Just arrived. You?" $38,000. Enough to pay my mortgage for a year. Enough to breathe. Patricia's voice broke. "Thank you for not letting me stay silent." David sent a text with a photo of his daughter's medical bills marked "Paid in full." Lisa sent flowers with a card. "For the woman who taught me what courage looks like." The other employees, the ones who'd been too scared to speak up, sent quiet messages of gratitude. Some apologized. Some didn't. All of them cashed their settlement checks. Marcus Thornhill resigned from Thornhill Industries under pressure from the board. Criminal charges were pending. His reputation was ash. The state passed new labor protection laws, the Thornhill Act they called it, requiring digital records retention, whistleblower protections, and mandatory arbitration reforms. Imani got job offers. 3 hotels, 2 restaurant groups, a workers' rights organization offering her a position as an advocate. She took the advocacy job. Same salary as before, but the work meant something. Helping other workers document their cases. Teaching them what her grandmother never knew. That power only works when silence protects it. Zara's field trip got paid for. With enough left over for new school clothes, a weekend trip to the coast, and a savings account for the first time in Imani's life. The apartment still had cream-colored walls and her grandmother's photographs. But the air felt different now, lighter, like a weight had lifted. One evening Imani stood in front of her grandmother's picture. The same frame, the same expression, but this time Imani smiled back. "I didn't let them erase me, Grandma. I didn't stay invisible." Her grandmother's image seemed to glow in the lamplight. Or maybe that was just Imani's tears catching the light. She'd fought. She'd won. She'd proven that documentation and courage could topple empires. And somewhere in this city, 23 families were breathing easier because one woman refused to forget. 6 months after the settlement, Imani spoke at a workers' rights conference. 200 people filled the auditorium. Hotel workers, restaurant staff, janitors and retail employees and warehouse workers, people who lived in the invisible economy, whose labor powered the city while their names went unspoken. Imani stood at the podium. The lights were bright. The crowd was silent. "My grandmother died believing she was powerless," Imani began. "She spent 30 years building something, and powerful people erased it with a signature. She had no proof, no documentation, no voice." She paused. "I inherited her debt, and I inherited her lesson. Never trust power to remember. Never trust promises without proof. Never stay silent when silence means survival for them, and erasure for you." The crowd leaned forward. "Marcus Thornhill counted on us forgetting, losing paperwork, being too scared or too tired to fight. He counted on our powerlessness." Imani's voice strengthened. But here's what he didn't understand. Documentation is power. Witnesses are power. And the truth, when it's spoken loudly enough, when it's backed by evidence and courage, the truth is the greatest power of all. She held up a folder. The same folder she'd carried for months. This folder brought down a billionaire. Not because I was special, not because I was fearless, but because I refused to be erased. Applause began. Soft at first, then building. So here's my message to every worker in this room. Document everything. Save every email. Photograph every promise. Build your evidence before you need it. Because when they try to erase you, and they will try, you'll have proof that you existed. That you mattered. That you were owed something and you're collecting. The applause grew louder. And to the powerful people who think wage theft is risk-free, who think workers are too powerless to fight back. Imani's smile was steel. We're watching. We're documenting, and we're not staying silent anymore. The crowd rose, 200 people standing. Applause thundering through the auditorium. Imani looked out at their faces. People who'd been invisible, overlooked, underestimated their entire lives. People who were learning what she'd learned. That survival isn't enough. That justice requires action. That silence protects power, but truth dismantles it. She stepped away from the podium. The applause followed her off stage. In her bag, the folder remained. Evidence of a fight won. Proof that documentation and courage could change the world. And somewhere in this city, in apartments and break rooms and quiet moments before dawn, other workers were starting their own folders, building their own cases, preparing their own fights. The empire of silence was cracking, one receipt at a time.